Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is on the membership tools and reports. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into BNI Connect and show you other ways that you can kind of enhance your BNI Connect experience here by taking a look at the numbers. That's a lot of what we're going to do today is look at some of the reports in the system, how they can help you out, how to do things like email your chapter and email a visitor invitation. So some of the things that may not be obvious that are in the system that are kind of a little bit more behind the scenes. We have to navigate into the deep, dark depths of BNI Connect in order to get to some of these things. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Just a quick note, this is a part of a 5-part series of webinars, and this is part 4. We started out last week with how to fill out your profile, and then we talked about the online slips in BNI Connect, and then we went into the mobile app as well and how that ties in. Then this week so far, we have talked about the connections groups and testimonials, kind of the social side of BNI Connect. And today, again, we're talking about the tools and reports. We're going to end the series tomorrow with a review of the visitor process in BNI Connect. So how do you invite visitors? How do you register them? What happens during that process, and how do you mark them afterwards? So that is going to be tomorrow. Before we get started, just a couple of really quick housekeeping things. Firstly, if you're with me today, July 26th, 2017, you have the privilege of being on a live webinar. And that means that you have the awesome responsibility of asking questions. So this is an interactive webinar. If you'd like to ask questions, please feel free to do so. The best way to do that is to please type your questions in to the questions panel. You'll see it in the GoToWebinar software, a big thing that says questions. Just type it in there and I will be able to answer those questions as I'm going through the webinar today. Now we are scheduled for about 30 minutes worth of content. I really try to keep these short and sweet so we're not taking too much of your business time away from you today, and you can get back to all those emails and phone calls and voicemails and Candy Crush and whatever else might be going on today. So that said, although the content is limited to 30 minutes, I will be staying on the webinar until every single question has been answered. So if you happen to miss one of the previous webinars and had a question about something, or you've been poking around in BNI Connect for the past couple of days and have a question about a function or a feature or a report, feel free to ask. The only silly question is the unasked question. All right, so with all that said, let's go ahead. Oh, I forgot one last thing. I'm sorry. We do also record these webinars. So if you happen to be listening to this in the future, then you can also send your questions in by email, but you found our recordings. Our recordings are located up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global, as well as on our support site, which you can access by clicking on the question mark in BNI Connect. All right, so now let's go ahead and get started with this. And that kind of brings us to our first tool there. And the support site, that's something that, if you have any questions as you're going through anything, please feel free to check out our BNI Connect Resource Center. And you get to the Resource Center, you see this question mark in the upper right-hand corner? If you click this question mark, it will take you over to our BNI Connect Support and Resource Center. This is not really part of BNI Connect, it's a separate site, but it does have all of the training materials and everything that are related to BNI Connect. So there's tons of stuff up here, some getting started and how to fill out your profile and establishing an account. A lot of these also will have short videos in them showing people how to go through that process. Guides and walkthroughs and step-by-step. So as you're also showing other new members how to do things in BNI Connect, it's a great way to learn more about the system. But we also have things like our live and recorded webinars, as well as our resource center. And in the resource center, for example, we have all sorts of stuff, some branding things. We have the member success center. If you want to listen to the audio files for Giver's Gain, that's the book that Dr. Meisner and some collaborators wrote about the BNI system, and it gives you a big why BNI, and it's an awesome listen. Also, the core values video series and some podcasts. All of this stuff is available up here on the BNI Resource Center. Now, if you have questions about specific things, you'll notice that there are small question marks in front of a lot of things like submit a referral slip. So if you need more information about submitting a referral slip, you can always click that little question mark. That will take you specifically to that help article, which will show you how to do that particular function and explain all the things on the screen. Now, what's good about this is, let's say that you have a new member that's coming into the chapter and you need to teach them how to do one of these functions. Just go to the question mark for that function and you can send them this hyperlink to show them how to do it. All right, so while we're on this, a couple of very quick tools and reports that are available right here on the home page that you may or may not have caught on our call on Monday. I'm sorry, this one was on Wednesday last week. So once you start submitting your slips online, there's a couple of things here. So we have the personal participation report. Now, this is a great report to show you your week by week activity. So as you're a member for a few weeks or a few months or a few years or even longer, this will show you the last 1 year. So if you're curious where these numbers come from, these numbers come from your personal participation report, which is the PALMS report. So again, this will show you the last year in this particular report, and it'll show you your attendance, your RGs. Those RGs are referrals given. I and O, inside and outside. There is a little key up here, but RGI, referrals given inside or member-to-member referrals. Within the chapter, RGO is when you introduce an outsider to a BNI person. There's always two sides of that referral relationship. So you have the referral giver and then you have the referral receiver. So you'll see how many referrals you've received, both inside and outside. You have visitors, one-to-ones, and thank you for closed business. The final column is CEUs. And this will give you a week by week history. And this is really good too. If you think the numbers are incorrect or there's an inconsistency in there, the best thing to do is to print out a copy of this report or export it and work with your vice president to get that fixed. At the bottom, you'll also see anybody that you have sponsored and any training events that you have attended. All right, so that's the first little report that I'll show you guys here. Now, the other report, now I touched upon this the other day when I was talking about the referrals and the one-to-ones and everything. But one of the things in BNI is to make sure it's not just the number of referrals that you're passing, and it's not just the number of one-to-ones that you're doing, but also the quality of them and who you are passing referrals to, who you are receiving referrals from, who's generating the most business for your business. And here, right on the home screen, all of these review my slips reports. Now, they can obviously be used to show you that that slip that you just entered was captured properly in the system, but it also can be used as an analysis tool. So for example, if I wanted to review, so where's the money coming from, for example, in my membership? Who is, every time I turn in a thank you for closed business, I've obviously made money in my business and I'm thanking the person that generated that money. So if I run this review my thank you for closed business slips, I can trace the revenue in my company to find out who is giving me the most business in my chapter. And not just by the number of referrals, but by the amount of money that they're generating for me. So for example, this is by default, it's going to show me the last 6 months, but I can actually go back to, I started using the system way back when it came out in January of 2012. And if I click go, this is going to show me every single thank you for closed business slip that I have ever turned in. Right? So I can start to now take a look and I can see patterns within this. One of the easiest things you can do is you can just sort this by thank you to, for example, and this will just group these all by person. So I can see here, hey, these are a lot of thank you for closed businesses for Angela Moon, and a lot of them are 5-figure thank you for closed businesses. I want to make sure that not only am I turning in the thank you for closed business, but that I'm continuing to foster that relationship. I can see which people are here and also which people might not be on this list that really, maybe they're in my contact sphere and they really should be on the list, but they're not really performing as much as I thought that they would. So all of this is a great insight into your membership. It's also a great way, for example, to see, who have you been doing one-to-ones with, or who do you need to do a one-to-one with next? And of course, who are you giving the most referrals to, and who are you receiving the most referrals from? All right, so that's some things that are on here on the homepage, but for some of the rest of the things that we need to do in BNI Connect, we are going to have to go to those scary places beyond the home screen. And for that, we're going to have to dive into some of the menu items up here along the top. So along the top, now you may not see all of the different menu items depending on what your level or what your roles are here in BNI Connect. But you should at the very least see the first three, which is network, operations, and reports. Now here's how I remember where stuff is in BNI Connect. So network is going to be those, the stuff we went over in yesterday's webinar. It's going to be all the networking functions or the kind of the social media side of BNI Connect. So we have the groups, those discussion groups here in BNI Connect. We have the connections. We have our personal address book here in BNI. We have testimonials. And you have your picture gallery as part of your profile. So that's the networking things. The other things are going to be operations and reports. And if you happen to be on the leadership team, you might see tools and admin, but today we're going to concentrate on operations and reports. Now, operations is really the data entry side of BNI Connect. So it's really where we go to the day-to-day management of our chapter, of our team. Reports, on the other hand, are read-only, so you'll only ever be able to get information back out of reports. It's not really a place to enter anything. So let's take a look at some of the things that are available under the operations menu. So I'm going to go to operations, and I'm going to go to the chapter level operations. So there's a bunch of things under here. And again, depending on what your level is here in BNI, will depend on what you can actually see in the system. On the left-hand side, we have things like manage visitors. We have meeting management. We have manage memberships, manage goals, the mentoring program, create email, and manage news. Now, you, again, may or may not see all of those things. I'm just going to show you a couple of things that all members should have access to here in the system. Now, the first one I want to show you here is create email. Now, yesterday, I showed you that there is this messaging system here in BNI Connect. That's not really an email system. It's more like a little internal short message system. If you need to actually get a message out to your entire chapter, one way to do that is through this create email function. And under create email, you'll see we have a couple of different options, one of which is email my chapter. We have email visitor invitation and email chapter visitors. This first one here, email my chapter, again, before BNI Connect, if I needed to get a message out to my chapter, what I would do is I'd go back to my sent items or go to my BNI folder and kind of hit reply all on the last message that was in there. That could have been from 2 days ago or it could have been from 2 months ago. And almost inevitably, it would go to the wrong people, because there's somebody new that just joined the chapter that wasn't in that email list. And maybe there was somebody that left BNI, so they don't want to be in the list anymore. What this does is this gives you the most up-to-date, as far as BNI Connect knows anyway, the most up-to-date email distribution list for your chapter. So I just click this and it will give me all of the email addresses for the people in my chapter. All I need to do is to highlight these, hit Control-C to copy them, and I'm going to open up my own email. I just need to start my own message. Now, I highly recommend putting everybody in the BCC line. And the reason for that is it does keep the messages more private. If the email happens to get forwarded or something, it won't have everybody's email address in there. The other thing is that it will also, at that point, if somebody hits reply all, it'll just go to you. And one of the things that people get annoyed with group emails is when people, yeah, I got it, and that goes to 30 people, 40 people, 50 people. The next person says, yep, I got it, and that goes to 30 people, 40 people, 50 people. So it does tend to get annoying. The BCCs will help to cut down on that. All right, so that's the email my chapter. Now I'm going to go into this a little bit more in detail tomorrow, but the email visitor invitation here is a great tool. So if you can't make tomorrow's webinar, just a quick kind of Reader's Digest version of this, the email visitor invitation. This is a great way to invite somebody to your chapter. And all you need to do is fill out a couple of fields here, their first name. So Joe Ross from Rossico, and the email address. Now I'm going to put my own email address in here. You're welcome to do the same. If you want to just send one as a test to yourself, these aren't recorded anywhere. We're not running any reports. We're not collecting email addresses. It's just a very simple way to get a visitor invitation out. And you will receive a carbon copy of it. If you'd like to put a personal message, that is optional. You can put one in there. Hey, great seeing you at the networking event. Why don't you come to my BNI chapter? You can personalize that. Otherwise, I'm just going to hit send. Now, I should get that in just about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. And here's what the email looks like. You can see that it's a very nice professional invitation that was done by the BNI Global Headquarters Marketing Department. So it does appeal to visitors. How will you grow your business? It has some great statistics in there. And most importantly, it automatically fills in all of your chapter information. So where your chapter meets, what time they meet, what the location is. A lot of times when we go to invite somebody to our chapter, it's like, oh yeah, we meet at the Elks Club. I don't remember what the address is, but just take a right at the street. It's across the street from that other place, and it gets people confused. This way they can just put it right into their Google Maps or whatever and get over to your chapter meeting. And of course, there's a couple of other websites that are dedicated just to explaining what BNI is all about to that potential visitor. All right, there's some other great stuff in here, like being able to register that visitor once they've committed. You can follow along with your leadership team goals by viewing your chapter goals. But a lot of the rest of this stuff under here is going to be leadership team functions. So when you're on the leadership team, you'll be using this to be entering the weekly attendance and scheduling speakers and all sorts of stuff like that. But what I want to do is I'm going to take the last 10 minutes or so and go through a couple of reports. Now, to get to the reports, I'm going to go to, reports, and go to the chapter level reports here. Now, the chapter level reports, there are a ton of reports. There's about 20 different reports in the system. So I'm not going to go through all 20 of them. I'd have to talk really fast and probably wouldn't get much across. I'm just going to go through about 5 or 6 of my favorite ones that I use as a member. So that's what we're going to talk about today, just a couple of the reports that are in the system. So one of the most obvious reports here is the second report down. It's called the chapter roster report. When I click go, this is going to be a fairly straightforward report. It's your chapter roster. So it's going to show you all of the people in your chapter, as well as your leadership team. So at the top will be your leadership team officers. So your president, your vice president, and this is really helpful in case, let's say you have an idea for an education moment or something like that. You can know who your education coordinator is and be able to reach out to them so that maybe they can incorporate your idea in a future education moment. Or if you need to talk to your director consultant, you can give your director consultant a call here as well. Their contact information will be listed. If you scroll down, you'll see your membership count here, and then you'll see all of the members of your chapter. their classification, their company name, their phone number. And what I really like about this one too is it will show you a condensed version of the last 90 days of activity. So you can see how many referrals. The G stands for given, the R is received, visitors, one-to-ones, how many times they've been late and how many times they've been absent. So it's a great way just to gauge activity. And I personally, I like to use this. I like to see people, oh, you know what? There's some people that haven't had many one-to-ones in the past 90 days. Maybe I want to personally reach out to them and do a one-to-one with them. Right, and that's about all there is to this report. So very, very, very straightforward there. Let's see, Alicia had a question. Please chat briefly about the very first report on this. Absolutely, sure. I usually skip over this one because more leadership teams are in tune with this one, but the member training report, this is just going to show you how many people in the chapter have been to various trainings. So for example, if I'd like to see, who's attended a member success program in the past year. So I'm going to go back, or let's even say since January of 2016. I want to see how many people have attended member success program. I click go. And this is just going to give me a list of all the people that have attended member success program in the past year. Well, since January of 2016. Oh, this one did not want to process for me. The reverse of the report also works. There is a show never attended. And the show never attended, what that does is it ignores the dates. But it'll show you who has never taken that. So this one again is really helpful for usually leadership teams to say, well, these are the people that need to get to member success program as quickly as possible. So the only people, which also is a requirement for doing a feature presentation. So Alicia and Lori both have the same question. Are these webinars included in those trainings? Does it keep track of other webinars that you attend? That largely depends on the webinar itself. These webinars, I don't have the ability to mass put them into people's training register because they're actually held in GoToMeeting. So you have to register with GoToMeeting as opposed to registering with BNI Connect. That said, as a bonus, just for you guys, because I love that you've been here for multiple webinars and multiple days and you're spending your time here with me, here's what I'll do just for you. If you shoot me an email or submit a support ticket, support@bniconnect.com, or go to the support site and submit a support ticket, I will personally add this webinar to your training record so that it'll appear on your trainings. All right, so I don't do that for everybody, but I'll do that for you guys. And if you let me know if you attended any of the other ones this week or any other parts of these series, I'll add those ones on at the same time. All right, but you got to shoot me an email, support@bniconnect.com, or I'd prefer it if you actually created a support ticket and you submit your own CEU credits for that. So just go ahead and make sure you submit a CEU credit for 1 credit for today's webinar. All right, does that help Lori and Alicia? Awesome. All right. Alicia says, yay. All right, so let me go down a couple of reports here. And the next report I want to show you it's the meeting notes report. Now, this one's a little tricky, and only because it's going to look so simple at first, but it has a lot of really important implications to you as a member. And this report is really important because it can help you to be a better referral giver. That's what I said, a better referral giver, because this is all about givers gain. And here's the meeting notes report. So I'm just going to click go. And again, it's going to look so overly simple. All it is a list of members and their company and a blank space. Why the blank space? Because this is really meant to be printed. And when I print this out, the idea behind this is I want to print this out and take it with me to the meeting. That way, when I'm going around the room, so my chapter, we have 50 members in my chapter, right? That's a lot of weekly presentations. And there's no way that I'm going to just, from short-term into long-term memory, remember everything that everybody asked for this week. So this will help you by allowing you a place to write that down and take notes during the meeting. So that's a great thing to just print out. Now, the other thing with any of these reports is you'll also see up here at the top, so I printed it, you'll also see export and export without headers. Now, the difference between these two, export is going to take everything on the screen here and put it out to Excel. So if I click export, it's going to take everything, including all the stuff up here, meeting notes report and running user and when it was run and what the title is, and that, all of that stuff is now going to appear in this Excel file, which is all well and good. If I want to save this on my computer, I'll know when I ran this report and where I ran it and for what and all of that. But if I wanted to sort this by first name instead of last name, that's going to be a real pain in the neck because of all these extra things at the top. So that's what this export without headers is. If I click export without headers, now I don't have all that extra kind of junk up at the top. So I can do things like, I love this format as table button in Excel. Give it a color scheme here, and now I can just have this drop down, and I want to sort it by first name instead. And now if I wanted to, I can even take notes electronically. So, oops, I hit too many buttons there. I could, save this on my computer. I could email it out. I could, really use this to a greater advantage. And one of the advantages of saving it on your computer, for example, is that, a lot of times, people will ask for a referral and you don't know the person yet. It might be 2 months, it might be 6 months, it might be a year before you actually get to meet the person that somebody else was asking to be referred to. Or maybe they need to build up that credibility first. You can use this to go back and archive them and look to see who asked for various referrals. All right, because I showed that training report, we're almost out of time, but the last thing I'm going to show you today, and by the way, feel free, you don't go into this reports, just click on each one of them. Find out what the reports do, what they say, and if you don't know what it is, like this chapter traffic lights report, hit the question mark in front of it. That will give you an explanation of what that report's all about, how the scores are calculated, et cetera, et cetera. So all of that information is there for you. But the last report, I just want to make sure that you guys know about the PALMS report. Now, we talk a lot about the statistics. This is the accountability piece of BNI. So by default, it'll show you the last 6 months, but you can look at the entire history of your chapter if you want to. I can go back to, 2007. I could go back to 2002 when I first became a member. Whatever I'd like to do, I can, find out, let's say, just this year to date. That's what I want. I'm going to do just this year to date. So I'm going to change these dates to July 26th. So January through July, I want to look at our chapter statistics. And this will show me everything that has happened from January to July. All right, so great report to find those statistics. Of course, this is also exportable. Now, here's the last thing I want to show you today. And then I'm going to open it up for questions. So if you have questions or you want to see more things, just by all means, let me know. And I'm happy to, again, I'm happy to stay here until every single question has been answered. So that said, on the home screen, there's another cool little tip here, cool little trick. And that is, you see this My BNI Business. And yesterday I showed you how you click on My Network and it brings you over kind of like the secondary home page. That's all the networking functions. Below that is chapter shortcuts. Now, what the chapter shortcuts are, it's all this is your personal shortcut menu to all the stuff that you have access to in BNI Connect. And you can customize this so that you only show things that you want to show and can change the order of them and everything. So to do that, all I'm going to do is, so I have all these things here, I can click configure. And anything over here in the left-hand side is in my list. Everything over on the right-hand side is stuff that I have access to, but is not in my shortcut list. To put stuff into the list, you just click into the box, and you can put everything in the list if you want to. To take stuff out of the list, you just click the little red X and it will take stuff out. Now, let's say this email my chapter, I can change the order of it just by dragging it and dropping it. Let's say I want that to be all the way at the top. I'm going to use that all the time. Now I can click submit. My changes have been saved. I'm just going to X out of it. And now this has been refreshed. So what that means is that instead of going to operations, chapter, create email, email my chapter, I can just go from my BNI business. I can go chapter shortcuts, email my chapter. Boom. It don't have to go hunting through the menus or anything like that. And the nice part about it too is that it doesn't require a screen refresh. So when I go to operations, I go to operations chapter, the whole screen needs to be refreshed, and here it just is pulling it up without that refresh. So it not only saves clicks, but it saves a couple of seconds as well. All right, so we are at the bottom of the hour. Again, I open this up to questions. Anybody have any questions whatsoever, please do add those questions into the queue and I will answer those in order right now. For those of you that need to leave right away, thank you so much for being here today. I greatly appreciate taking the time to learn more about BNI Connect and spending a little bit of time with me here today. We will post this recording just as soon as we can. All right, so we have a couple of questions. Jessica says, I've been at all the webinars from last week and this week. I let my BNI members know how helpful these have been to me at our meeting yesterday. Jessica, thank you so much. We are a word of mouth organization, and your word of mouth spreading good things about these webinars is tremendously helpful. So thank you so much, Jessica. Alicia said, regarding the logging of visitors, can we as members enter this information via BNI Connect, or is that a feature to which only certain individuals have access? So generally speaking, and this really, it's highly dependent on your region, and every region processes things slightly differently as far as who's responsible for what and who has access to what, and that's okay. But generally speaking, what you should see at the very least under operations is register a prospective visitor. So right here, this register a prospective visitor, and anybody should be able to register a visitor before a meeting. Now, after the visitor has attended, usually that's up to the leadership team. And the reason for that is because at that point, it's giving credit in the POMS reports, it's affecting the statistics and the chapter traffic lights and a bunch of other things in the system. So most people can register a prospective visitor, but marking them attended or registering somebody or entering a visitor that hadn't registered, that's going to be something usually reserved for the leadership team. Does that answer your question, Alicia? Alicia says, thank you. That makes sense. Our chapter is gradually moving to doing more online. And again, I'm going to go in depth with the visitor process tomorrow if you want to join us, and all the different reminders and notifications and things like that that you get from using the online system for visitors. I look forward to seeing you there, Alicia. All right, I don't see any other questions. Does anybody else have any other questions about BNI Connect at all? I'd be happy to answer those questions now. All right, Jessica says, I'll be back tomorrow. Awesome, Jessica, I look forward to seeing you. All right. Again, thank you guys so much for being here with me today. You can now go back to your regularly scheduled emails and phone calls and client appointments and one-to-ones and all the other stuff that you need to get done before the end of the day today. Thank you so much for being here, and happy connecting.